This week on today's Homeowner, we're exploring what makes a kitchen work for the long haul, not just what makes it trendy or cute. We found some homeowners who will give it to us straight, so don't miss this.
And I'll tell you about another one. You want? Okay.
All right, good. Over the years, I've had an opportunity as a contractor to work with a lot of great homeowners who have some fantastic ideas for their kitchen renovation. But after a few years, I wonder how many of those ideas really pan out. So this week, we're looking at 3 different kitchens that we've remodeled over the years and just see how well those ideas are really working. Starting with this house, it has a kitchen in it that I renovated about 3 years ago. The owners, Sean and Melissa Costello, had an ambitious plan for the kitchen, which included removing some walls to create more open space and stripping the remaining walls back to the studs so we could reroute plumbing and electrical lines. But the big motivator for Sean and Melissa wasn't just the aesthetics, it was the way the kitchen functioned.
It didn't work at all for us. I mean, the original kitchen that we had in here was so narrow. You know, when we bought the house, we loved the house in general, but I walked into the kitchen and I said, I cannot work in here. I mean, she and I like to cook together, and that was a large part of why we finally decided, you know what, the cabinetry is old, the ovens were ancient. In fact, I don't even think most of our sheet pans fit in the original oven in here. And it was too small and cramped.
There was an island smack in the middle that in a space that was clearly not big enough for an island. It's part of the reason we put this sink in, so we don't have to cross the kitchen with hot pans of boiling water when we're draining things. And so this sink has worked well. Plus, it gives us 2 spaces to really move around this kitchen really easily without getting into without getting into each other's space. We've had the 2 of us and several friends in here cooking and serving and cutting, and when we entertain, it's sort of all centers here. We don't really go anyplace else in the house.
Well, a lot of times when you're combining new ideas with old ideas, you have to put up with certain things, and I know the window here was one of the things that because the window went down below the countertop height. But you came up with this idea, actually, Melissa, to create this little indentation here, which we'd never done before. All the hundreds of kitchens that we've remodeled. How's that worked out?
This has worked out great. I had to credit our kitchen designer who came up with a lot of the idea. There's lots of stuff can go back there.
Oh yeah, things can fall back there.
and it's one of the things that almost everybody who comes into this kitchen comments on is they say, oh well, that's a neat idea. You just we drop the big thing of soap behind there, and it's still accessible, but kind of out of the way.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, your choice of a hardwood floor. We get questions from people all of the time saying, I would love to put a hardwood floor in my kitchen. Does it really work? Looks like it's holding up pretty well.
It is definitely a floor that requires a little bit of attention and maintenance in that regard. I mean, you have to be okay with the floor having a little bit of scratching on the top of it.
Sure.
We knew we'd have to go back and do some touching up. It's part of the reason we picked the thicker wood. We picked three-quarter inch wood on this floor because we knew with our dog and with it being in a kitchen and with all the traffic that we would have to probably go back and sand and refinish probably several times over the lifetime of the kitchen.
And with all the granite, the wood floors help sort of warm it up and soften it a little bit because we have a lot of granite in this kitchen. And I mean, it's a very nice surface to stand on and walk on and work in, right?
Right. The multi-layer bar area, how's that worked out? Because you have the lower area that you can serve meals, and then certainly upper area. Did that work out?
I don't think we used the bar quite as much for meals as we anticipated. Now, our children are still a little bit young. I think that as they get a little bit older, that will evolve more into an area where they can sort of sit down and do things like that. Right now, probably the only drawback is it's a great flat place to drop stuff when you come in the house.
Everybody has one of those. Well, I think you guys, did so well in the ideas that you have in, within the kitchen and however everything went together. But there's never been the perfect kitchen put together. So, what's the 1 or 2 things that you do maybe just a little bit different?
I'm trying to think.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah, I was going to say I really, I can't think of anything that I do differently in this kitchen.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, we have talked about that before over the past few years as we've worked in this kitchen, that Functionally, it works. It is a very, very easy kitchen to work in. It's a great kitchen. I mean, you can work here. There's still the traffic pattern with the small kids running around. They can do their thing. You know, honestly, I don't think I would change anything. I might put up a sheet of magnetic metal somewhere so that I can hang the kids' pictures up somewhere. But other than that, I mean, in terms of the design, the functionality, the things that we have in here, I don't know that I would change anything substantively. It functions exceptionally well.
That's great news to hear. Now, while I continue visiting with these happy homeowners, Joe's got a great tip for your kitchen.
I love cleaning my garbage disposer. Okay, that might be a bit of an overstatement. I certainly don't mind as much as I used to because I found a very safe and effective tip for not only cleaning the disposer, but also sanitizing the drain and defuncifying any foul smells. To start, take a half a cup of baking soda, and dump it right down into the disposer, then follow it up with a full cup of white vinegar. And what you'll see is it'll immediately start bubbling and fizzing. Look at that. Isn't that great? So we're just going to let that quiet down for a little bit. It usually just takes a few seconds. Then follow up with a full pot of boiling water. And again, just pour it right down the disposer drain. And what you're going to want to do is let that sit for at least 4 or 5 minutes so it cools off. And then just turn on the cold water and run the disposer.
This week, we're revisiting 3 kitchens that were remodeled several years ago. And what we want to find out is if all of the decisions that the homeowners made and the designers made are still working out for them today. Now, the couple we talked with earlier, they were pretty happy with all of the decisions. But let's see how the Andersons are feeling. Eric Anderson lived in this house as a teenager in the late 70s. 3 years ago, when the house became his, he asked us to renovate it before moving in with his wife Laura and their 3 kids. The biggest challenge, besides the dated decor, was opening up the traditional 70s floor plan to create a modern open kitchen. That was somewhat easier since they weren't living here while all of the construction was taking place, but I wanted to see if that made a difference in how their decisions worked out now that some time has passed. Their first reaction was just what you might expect.
And we just wanted to be up to date, you know, so we could enjoy it and have the kind of kitchen that we'd enjoy, you know.
Right. Well, you know, you had that, probably right about here, you had that countertop and then those cabinets hanging down.
Right.
And you know, always think about when you're trying to converse with people around, you know, having to look like this all the time. And,
Yeah, right.
I'm sure you got tired of that.
Ooh,
Yeah.
my neck hurts.
What about some of the materials that you used? You used a lighter color granite than we see a lot of people using. Did you end up liking it?
We did. Now, let me show you something. Can I love our house. Now, we're very blessed.
Yeah.
But can I show you some things?
Please, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right here. When we were picking our granite, we never saw this right here.
Oh, it's almost like a stain in there.
Exactly. And so it's taken a while to get used to that.
So what about the cabinets? A lot of people are going back with the dark, rich cabinets like that. Would you do that again? Uh-oh.
No. I mean, I would go lighter. We're beach people. Like, if you see our pictures over there, those were our honeymoon. We love the beach.
I got you.
And so I went into a house in Mobile where they had the light blue colors and the white. I mean,
kind of whitewashed look to it, kind of a
it looked so beachy, and I was like, why didn't we think of that? So,
well, that's some of the things, you know, because there are so many accessories in a kitchen. You know, and all the pull-outs and roll-outs, and your eyes can kind of roll back in your head.
And I'll tell you about another
Okay.
one. You want? Okay.
All right, good,
The
good.
lazy Susan. Okay. First of all, it's just never sat right. Now, maybe that's us, maybe how it's heaviness and everything, but and then our kids. When we moved in, it was like a constant, you know, spinning it around, seeing how fast.
Yeah, I can see you could have some
we had
fun
a
with
little
that.
one. He was trying to climb in there,
that
you
sounds
know.
like fun.
So
What about the
exactly.
floor? You've used the larger tiles throughout the whole area. How about that? Something else you want to change?
I mean, if we could have, we would have done all wood. But when we were talking about it, they really said we need tile in the kitchen.
Right.
And then they had said, well, then you can do wood, you know, in the family area.
Right.
And I just could not I couldn't picture where we would do the splitting off
Right,
and
yeah,
everything.
that can be a little bit tricky, especially with open spaces like this.
Exactly. So I just said, we'll just do the tile. But I wish we could, you know, have done all of
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Well, you know, there's always a challenge here too when you're talking about different materials in any part of the house, but particularly the kitchen. You know, you have a floor, you have a countertop, and then you now have a different material for your backsplash. But somehow that worked pretty well. Do you still like this?
We love it, and we have gotten so many compliments
you
on
have,
the
yeah.
subway tile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, love it.
And
Really
appliances,
do.
are your appliances all in pretty good shape? You like those? More changes?
Well, I did not know. I was, you know, I had no idea about stainless steel. And so the handprints, it drives me nuts. Because I can come in the morning and see everything my children have eaten all over. And they don't see it, you know, but I do in the fingerprints and trying to keep it clean all the time.
But overall,
I love it.
It's still working out good. The food's still tasting good and
Oh
everything.
yeah, everything's working well.
As you can see, every decision in a kitchen remodel makes a big impact. And this week, Jody has a best new product that should simplify some of that process.
Well, I'm over here in the Kitchen Design Center, and I'll be honest with you, take a look at all of the choices that you have when it comes to choosing cabinets. So you've got different colors, different door styles, even different grains and styles of wood, not to mention all the choices that you have for your countertop. Take a look at this. I open the door, and I've got 8 choices right here to choose from, and then I open this drawer right here, and I have endless choices of hardware. And I'll be honest with you, it can get very overwhelming and confusing when you've got the pressure to put all of these together to create that beautiful kitchen or bath. Until now. Take a look at what Martha Stewart Living has created. Inside this little brochure that she has, she's got a little color key system. It's right here. See these little emblems right here? These designate different types of cabinets, different countertops, different paint selections, and also different hardware. So that all you have to do is decide which ones you like and then just match it up according to the little emblem. Like this right here is sea salt for the countertop. It's got gold for the paint. They've recommended this hardware right here, and then they've recommended this type of cabinet so that you can just match this all up, and in no time, you can be the designer and creator of that design kitchen or bath that you've always wanted.
So far today, we've looked at renovations to kitchens from the 60s and the 70s, but obviously this house is a lot older than that. It's 100 years old, and its kitchen was renovated back in the 80s. It was fairly functional, but still very dated, very dark. It just didn't suit the homeowner's needs or the historic nature of the house. Those owners are good friends of mine, Jerry and Margaret Bramlett, and they've owned this home for about 20 years. In that time, we've done several projects here to help them battle the effects of time on this beautiful old home. But the most recent was this kitchen renovation that Margaret designed herself.
I don't know, I looked and then I just made my own decisions, you know. I mean, I didn't use a decorator and...
We completed it about 2 years ago, so I was really anxious to see how she felt about her kitchen now that some time has passed.
Well, overall, I couldn't be happier with it. In fact, I was thinking about it this morning because I knew you were coming, and I thought, I know he's going to ask me what would I do differently, and the truth is, nothing big at all. And it turned out to be exactly what we wanted, what we needed.
Well, that's perfect. And well, of course, you guys had the advantage of living in the house for a while, and of course, it took you quite a while to talk Jerry into doing this project and everything. Why did it take so long? Why did it take so long to do the kitchen?
What a setup. Well, Margaret had always said she wanted to renovate the kitchen, and she had a plan in her mind. And I realized as I turned 60 that we needed to step this process up if we wanted to enjoy it. So I encouraged her to go ahead and put it on paper and get moving.
Well, it worked out pretty well that we didn't have to like tear everything out. I mean, it was quite a mess in the middle of the construction and everything, but to be able to use the basic cabinets and then updating everything, that's not easy to do a lot of times.
Well, no, and I think that the basic layout of the kitchen, you know, there are some things that we changed. The island that was here was much larger, and then the cooktop was on it, which I never did really like too much. And none of the cabinet cabinetry over there existed. But the basic walls were here and the cabinets were here. So really what I was doing was just modifying it.
Right,
you know, keeping the basic shape that was here and updating the appliances and really getting it more suited to what we wanted.
Well, you know, with older houses or almost any type of kitchen remodeling we do, we're always challenged with electrical and everything and lighting. That's a lot of tough decisions there. How did that work out for you?
I've loved it. We got the recessed lighting that's really good, and I found this fixture that I've been
I think that's
really
so appropriate.
pleased.
And then the coloring to finish here, and then you found all of the, and then going with the different knobs here and the pulls here.
Exactly.
That was really neat.
I liked it. I thought it sort of had a burnished antique look. I mean, the house is old, and I wanted to keep that quality about it, but have it updated. It had butcher block cabinets, if you countertops, if you remember, the entire thing. And so the granite we've been real happy with.
Now, what about all the decisions and everything? When you went out, especially talk about granite, and you go out and you start trying to figure. First of all, you're trying to pick granite from little pieces like this.
Well, that was a whole other adventure. You're right, but I was able to see the whole slab, you know, and to pick that. And you're never sure exactly how it's going to look, but I was really pleased with the way they worked and tried to, you know, get the purest cut on for the big, biggest area that was covered. And so I've been real happy with it. Like the color, and I think once we made the decision about the granite, then we went with the paint color for the cabinets and for the walls based on that.
It's kind of hard to know which one's first and how you piece this together and that kind of thing.
This was the biggest expense, so that seemed like, let's get that one, the one I really like there, and then we can go with the others.
And we did a few little pull-outs and a few little things to make everything a little more usable. Then, of course, the cabinetry, the China cabinetry piece over here that we did added a lot more space than you had before.
Well, it did, because this was shortened, and I really wanted the cabinet, and I looked at magazines and I looked in books and I really thought about it, and I knew we couldn't come too far out with it because of the door, but this idea of having it the narrower cabinets and then the deeper cabinets I think worked out really well, because what I really wanted was to be able to have a small television too.
Oh, perfect.
So that just that worked.
Well, that's definitely a part of every kitchen these days.
Well, it is now. We were probably the last people around to have TV in the kitchen maybe, but I like having it.
Perfect.
It's fun.
And then of course you spend all of your time out in the garage with your business and everything. So you come in for meals and everything. Is the food better now than it was before?
Well, it's delicious. Thank you for asking.
that was perfect. That was the right answer.
Here's a tip to keep you thinking green. There's something to be said for the classics. Take Coca-Cola, for example. I'm not talking about the original formula versus new Coke, but the glass bottles. To me, they look good and they feel good, but what should happen to a bottle after you're finished with it? In one word, recycle. There's so many things that can be made from recycled bottles, like flooring and countertops. But unfortunately, of the 40 billion glass bottles made every year, close to 75% of them wind up in a landfill. That's a pure shame, because using recycled glass from local recycling programs means minimum transportation impact and minimal greenhouse gas emissions. You also get a product easier to maintain without a lot of harsh chemicals. We all win with recycled glass. So have a Coke, recycle, and smile. Kitchens are among the most popular renovation projects with homeowners, and after talking to the three couples, you can see why. They make a big impact on the way a family lives, works, and plays together. If a kitchen renovation is in your future, I hope we've given you some good food for thought. No matter how extensive a kitchen renovation may be, remember that every decision has a big impact. So don't rush. Take your time and choose wisely. And you can tell there's a distinct advantage in living in a house for a little while before you do a renovation. That way you'll know exactly how you want to use that space. You'll end up with fewer regrets. Also, don't let the trends drive all your decisions. Trends, they come and go. Let your personality shine through on any renovation you do to your home. Hey, thanks for being with us here on today's Homeowner. We'll see you next week. I'm Danny Lipford.